So welcome to Testwise. As I said, my name is Rodney Sakifio, part of the GL Assessment, GL Education Company. We are doing this uh, Testwise webinar. I believe it's for the Astrea Academy Trust. So I shall go ahead and starting this session. And if you do have any questions, please kindly just text at the end of the session, and hopefully I should be able to respond. If you also can hear me and you wish to speak as well, then do so at the end of the session as well. So we shall begin. Hopefully, if once you've joined or you've joined GL or you've purchased some assessments from us, be it single assessments or if it's one of our assessment packages, which is normally called the complete digital solution package, this will allow you to be able to pick a particular service in order for you to administer your test. So you would have initially an email that is sent to you with your login details, where once you click on that link, you are able to create your own password. I believe that you should have that in a few days once you have purchased either a package or a single assessment from us. The website address, as you can see on top here, is www.testingforschools.com and forward slash. Now I am currently logging in um, into a temporary account, so you'll see the word case here, but most of the time you should have that as your school customer ID, which we also send to you as an email. So do take note of that. So once you've created your password, you put in your email address and your password, click on the login button, and you will be presented with six buttons. The initial button is My Organization, which we should come to, Users, Sittings, Students, Services, and Reports. My Organization tends to have your address details of the organization, where I would say the main administrator can make any changes to this area. If we got the address part incorrect, you can make that change and you can click on save at the bottom part. You would also see the main administrator's email address at the bottom of this section, which you can also amend if that was to change. The part here which has the account logo, you are able to upload either the trust's that's logo, or at the same time you can put in your school logo, which would reflect on your reports when you generate them after a test has been completed. Now, in order to navigate on our Testwise platform, you've got two ways of doing this. As you saw, I clicked on the My Organization button. To go back to the home page, you can be able to click on GL Assessment, which takes you to the main screen. Or at the same time, you can also click on this four horizontal lines here, which will give you, that's another menu, which you can be able to navigate from. So I shall click back on the home button, and that brings me back to the main screen. Your next section is the users button. Now in the users here, you will see that, as I said, I'm using a temporary account, which we've created various users here in order for us to use. But if this is your first time, you would have this blank, or you would only have your email address being the main recipient stated there. In this area, you are able to create new users in order for them to administer also the test for pupils. There are there's various options which are there, so I shall go ahead and showing you that. You just click on add user, and then you would put in the name of the person, and then the email address. And now you can be able to leave the password part blank, so that when you've organized this user detail, an email will go to the recipient and they will then have to create their own password. But if you want to actually control the email addresses that are being used, then you would have to enter that detail in the password section and just advise the recipient of what the password is. Now, there are three options that are here which you can use. The first one being the teacher. As you can see, once I hover above that, it actually gives you a description telling you that the teacher, the teacher's option, they are able to create or manage the students section. They can be able to create a sitting or manage a sitting, meaning that you can create a test, or at the same time you can create or download reports. You would not have the option of accessing the school's address area, which is my organization. Neither would you have the button to create multiple users. Now, the school administrator is the next option. The school administrator is one of the main, say, options that you would use if you wanted to give the user that sort of permission and having all the buttons, I would say, available to them, or all functions available to them. So you will choose the user as a school administrator. The last being of a cluster administrator. This, on the other hand, we have to create a cluster account, and then the details are sent to the main user of that cluster account. So mainly the trust will be using this account, this I'll say option, because they will be generating reports that they are able to see how the various schools under the trust are performing. So if it's just a school just using the service, you will mainly be using the teacher or school administrator. So I shall go ahead and choose, as I said, school administrator, and then I'll just click on save. Now, once that is done, it will be amongst this list that has been created over here, but then you can be able to look for the user detail by just typing in the search box, and you will have a few names that may come up with the first two letters that I've typed. As you can see, Astrea Trust is rather typed just at the bottom with their details there as well. If I have made an error in terms of the email address or detail in terms of the name, I can be able to click on the actions button on the left hand side, click on the edit button, which is the little pencil, and then it will be able to take me back to the that's the creation screen, and I can make the necessary changes, be it if I wanted to put it as Astrea Trust 12. Click on save, and then that should actually make the change for me. Now, if it had anything to do with the email address, what I would advise you to do is, once you've made the necessary changes and saved, just click on the actions button and click on the reset button. That then allows the user to be able to reset or recreate their password. Now, if that user, on the other hand, has left the school or the organization, and you no longer requires access to the Testwise platform, just click on the left hand side of this of the name, which is a select box, and you can be able to archive the user. It would prompt you, are you sure? You say yes, and then that removes the user from the list of I'll say people given permissions to access it. If I need to find this person, as you can see, I've still typed in the first two letters. But if I need to find the person, if I've made an error in I'll say archiving the user, because you can't delete a person, we've removed that function just because of safety reasons, so you can only just archive. Now, if I need to find that user, there's a little button on the left hand side where it says show archived users only. Just tick on that box, and luckily I've only just got that's a little list, so I can be able to spot that user, tick on that name, and it gives me the option to restore. But if I had a long list of names, as I did earlier, just type in the first two letters of the name. It will give you a few names that may come up, and then you can be able to select your user to restore that person. Once that's taken off, just click on the untick the box by the show archive users, and that should bring that user back to the main screen for you to use. Okay, so moving on, we'll just click on the menu bar, and then this time we shall click on services. I shall come back to the settings, students and reports. So click on services. This area will show you what as an organization you've subscribed to. So if you've subscribed to single assessments, you will see the name of the assessments on the left hand side. It would also let you know the status of it being live. If you have purchased, as I said, single assessments, it would let you know the credits available for you to use, meaning that if, for instance, in this example in the middle where I've got the NGRT new group reading test, where it's got seven credits, it means that I can only assign seven tests or to seven tests to seven pupils. It says the total credits 10. That means I've used three out of it, so that's the remaining seven. There's a button on the right hand side which tells you the subscription. When you click on that, it's also letting you know that you've got a year between that time when you purchased it to when you're supposed to be using it. So as you can see, the expiry date for this particular assessment and credit is the 16th of Jan 2020. Now you can just close the box, and that brings you to this part. If you have subscribed to one of our flagship products, which is the complete digital solution package, as I stated, you'll see one of the subscriptions here which says CDS all school years, where it is showing you that it is unlimited because you've got unlimited access to your assessments. You can create as many sittings as you wish or create as many tests as you wish, depending on the assessments within the package. If you click on the subscriptions button, you should be able to see the various assessments or tests on the top part of the screen here, and it also lets you know the type of reports and the basically, as in terms of, it states the package names, but it's just the names of the reports as well. You'd also see that we've stated the expiry dates of the assessment as to when it completes, where it's saying 6th of May 2022. So closing that, if any of your assessments have expired, where you see either reports or anything of that nature, if you do spot the aspect of expired and something is not working, please just give us a call. I'll advise that the best thing to do is to first contact your account manager in regards to that, and then hopefully they should be able to point you in the right direction as to do our technical support to try and resolve the issue for you. So I'll click on GL assessment this time so that you can see how both buttons do work. The next thing I shall be moving on to would be the students. Okay, so now you have here, that's a list of students that we have already uploaded or imported onto our Testwise platform. If this is your first time as a school, you would have this screen blank. As in terms of a cluster account, from a trust point of view, you would also have this part blank because you don't have to be importing any student data. But as a school, you would have to be importing some student information. Now, if you wanted to just import or just add one student to the account, the button on top left, you just click on add student, and the initial parts that you can complete will just be the fields with the asterisks. That's all after the headings here. So I shall just put in a few details here.
So it's an all school the platform testing. You get the progress test in maths, English and science. You get the new group reading test and new group spelling test. Baseline
So
data.
as you can see, I've just completed a few fields there. And when you want to choose the group is normally a class. If you are putting in some details in for the first time, once you are typing in that information, it would say no results found. Just click on add. And the next time when you are typing in for another student, once you've clicked in the very first two letters, it should give you the predictive answer, which you can be able to just select that particular class. So once you've done that, you also have the option of putting in your year information. I always advise schools to be able to do so. So depending on what year the pupil that's is I would say part of, just put in that detail of the year, and then just click on save.
26th of July. So you signed it. Do you want me to send you a copy of it?
Okay, so once that information has been added, once again, in order to be able to locate that particular student amongst your list, just come to the search box on top and then type in the either first two letters or first three letters. You may have a few suggestions, and as you can see, mine is on the second list from the top, where you've got Rilo there. If there's any changes that you need to make for that particular student, just click on the actions button. You've got two options that would come about. That is the pencil, which is your edit button. Can be able to just click onto that, make the change either to the name or if any detail that you've entered incorrectly, and just click on save.
Going to go into your second year, so I mean 2021 is when you next need to think about renewal.
Now, if you search for that student again, you will end up seeing that the information has then changed. So now you can see Ra with low with an S at the end because you couldn't actually hear or you couldn't actually see the S initially. All right. Now, if I also wanted to see, you would have seen there was another option that is showing the activity log. This section here is to show the various tests that the particular pupil has completed. So you can be able to click on to that and see. I shall show you there's maybe an example of another student just in case if we have any, I'll say various students that have completed, but in this example, I don't have a few. Oh, there you go. There's one that you can see there where they've completed some test. So you can see that test was assigned on the 27th of September. They started it on that same day, and that would have also completed hopefully around that same time as well. In some examples, you would also see the date as to when it was completed with the time. But as this was some time ago, possibly either the dates have completed or the student might have not completed it fully, so it might still be in progress. So you wouldn't see that's a date there. If you do have any issues when you are generating a report or think the student has completed it, as I said, please just contact us or contact your account manager and they will look into it further. Okay. So now, just moving on, as to just adding a single student, you also have the option of adding students as a bulk, which we shall be able to do. Just before then, I shall be showing you just the export student. So this button here is to extract the student data that you already have. If you are conversant with, or actually just familiar with Excel, you can be able to click on this option to extract your student data, and you can make the necessary changes to the I would say to the very end on the right hand side if you've got any students who have either just moved further to an academic year. It's just to show you that you can be able to make the changes on the right hand side, which we shall come to this form and I'll explain it further, but you can make those changes. Other than that, your best thing that I advise is for you to archive any students that have left the school, and then you end up importing a new student file which should be able to update any previous information that has been stated within their class, which falls under the group column, or their year groups as well. It tends to look for the student based on their unique ID, which is the school ID in the middle, and they would update the fields on the right hand side because they are not mandatory. Okay, So coming on to the import students, as to where you want to import your students as a bulk from your either your management information systems, just click on the import students button. You have some instructions on the top, and you can be able to click on our import template button, which is going to allow you to be able to copy that information from your student data onto our template for you to store your information onto our platform. This is how the spreadsheet, or the CSV file as we call it, looks like, where you would see the very first 6 columns, that's column A to column F, are mandatory because they've got the asterisks at the end of the titles, and column G to column N are not mandatory. So it's quite flexible. You can be able to put in the information or not put in the information there if you don't have that. I would advise to leave the titles without having to delete any, as from column A to column N. If you don't have any information, as you can see from custom 1, custom 2, just leave it blank. Custom 1 and custom 2 may be fields that you could use if in case if the trust requires you to put in either maybe special statements there, either pupil being pupil premiums, or if they want you to put certain text there for them, for it to be easier for them in terms of their reporting, I would say, parts. So you may find some may use high, low, to describe either a pupil's category. Now, so this is our example that it shows there. You can be able to remove this example and just copy and paste from your, I would say, from your management systems, and then just paste it. Please ensure that when you are putting in the information, it follows the same format, because sometimes it would change the formats. So you have the date of birth where you can see that it's sticking to, that's the numerical numbers, where it's saying 01//01. Sometimes they would rather change it to 01-Jan. So you've got to format the column. The gender section has got male and female. You cannot use the capital F on an M. You've got to type it fully, and they've got to be in the capital letter in initial as they start. So exactly the same thing on our template. Under column F, where it is group, we have stated it as in the class. You could change that, and you could state it as, be it whatever the name of your class is, and that should be fine. If you don't have class names and you wish to just put in the year, just state the number as in that's number 8, or whether if it's they are in year 6, just state it as that, and you can repeat the same in the year column. As I said, the year column is flexible, so you can decide not to put in anything, but please go according to what the trust has suggested you to do, so that everything synchronizes the same and it's easier for them to do their reporting. External references is not mandatory. If you don't have that as a field from your management systems, just ignore that as well. Free school meals. Once again, if it's a requirement from the trust for you to complete, please do so. You cannot put Y and N. You've got to type it fully, saying yes and no. Ethnic group as well. Do put in either, as you can see it's from the example here. You can't use any special characters, so please just use exactly what we've suggested within the fields. SEN is another field from the management systems which you can find, where you can just type in the necessary statements, and if you do not have any, as you can see here, you can just put the word none. Some may be able to get away with it where you can leave it blank, and that should allow you to proceed. English as a second language, please put in this yes and no. You cannot state anything else within that field either. So as you can see, I have got an example here as to what I have stated within the spreadsheet. So I've just made a few examples which I shall be showing you as to how to import that template. And you can see that I have also left custom 1, custom 2, because I don't have any information that I require to actually put in there. Once you've saved your CSV file on your desktop, or in order to save it, please just click on File, Save As. you'll see the file type saying CSV, comma delimited. That's the way we want you to keep it as. Just put in the file name and then just save it within the location that you require to save this document. Then click on browse, and then you can just locate your file. So just bear with me. Once you've done that, just click on open. And if everything is I would say entered in as the way it should be, it would actually tell you the number of invalid entries. Then it should also tell you if these are new students, how many new students are also being entered onto the platform. And if it locates any previous student that is already on the system, it will also tell you the number of students that have been updated. So just click on import at the top right corner, click OK, and I would suggest given about 15 minutes, you should receive an email that letting you know that your student data has been updated, and then you can be able to go ahead in creating your test. So I shall just be waiting for that email, but in the meantime, we'll go ahead in going for the student data, and we'll try looking for one of the students as well.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. For doing so, let me just quickly just check whether if any student has been added.
Okay. Let me just double check that I've got your email address and I'll forward you.
Okay, so I'll just type in AL, which is one of my students. And you can see just in the middle here, I've got ALC, which straight away is one of the students that have been added onto that platform. Okay, so now within the student section as well, you can be able to filter your students if you wanted to look for a particular student, or as I said, if you also wanted to remove a particular year group, if you were trying to update your platform, if you had previous students on there, you can be able to filter by the year group. So on the left hand side, you can be able to click on the year box, type it in there, click on the type in the year number, click on apply, and it will look for all students that are within your year 8. If within the screen, you will be presented with the first 100 students. So if you have more than 100 students in that particular class, you will see a load more button at the bottom. Just click that again, and that should present you with the next 100. Now I can be able to click on the select box at the top left part here, and that should select all the students for me. And I can then click on archive and then click yes, and that should remove all the students. Just click on the X on the by the filter, and that should bring the remaining names of the students. Now if I need to unarchive or restore those students, I can click on the show archive students, which is at the left hand side as well, filter those particular students of year 8. It would give me my list. Click on the select box, and you will see on the top right it's saying restore, and that should then restore those students. Untick that box, and that should be now back to the main screen. You can also filter the students, as I said, by the group or the particular class. So if I'm trying to look for any students within that section as well, I will type in maybe the very first letter of that filter. It will give me a few suggestions. If I click onto that option, it will then filter as per the group names or the class names what I've entered, and will let me know those students that fall under that. So if a particular student is in the wrong year, or as I said, in the wrong class, click on the actions button, then the edit button, and then you can be able to make the necessary changes. Click on save. And I'll just look for that, I'll say that particular student again, and as you can see, that has now updated that student's year group as well. Okay, so moving on now to the settings tab, where we create the test for the students to be able to do, I'll say, do their test. Um, if this is your first time using it, you'll see no results to display at this section. If you do have a few, you will see by our example where some of the tests have expired, where you can be able to tidy it, or at the same time you can be able to create or see that some tests have been created. So we'll go ahead and create a new test. Click on the Add Setting button. And if I'm going to be creating a test as in terms of for a progress test in English, I can just give it any description. So I will just call it either PT and then give maybe the particular year group. Select the service. So this is part, as I said earlier, is the type of service that you would either been subscribing to. So I shall click on the CDS or school years in this example as we have, and then I shall select my test. Now it's giving me a few tests that are within this particular package, so I can be able to go ahead and just selecting that particular test. Click on Add, and that should then allow me to go to the next part. So click next, go into the test start period of the sitting. Initially, it will give you the first 2 weeks of the test, but you should be able to change that to up to 30 days. So I can change this as in from the 12th of June as it's got it, and then maybe select up to the 11th of July. If you do go outside of the 30 days, you would see a red flag which will indicate that you've gone past that, so you can then make the necessary change. You can also click on the circle button on the right hand side, and you should then manage to change the time of the test. Click on next. The next part is for me to create add students to this particular sitting. So just click on add individuals. And I've got the whole list of student data, but I want a particular class to be able to do this test. So I would click on the refine search button at the top part of the screen. Click on the particular year group. Type in the year, the year's number. Click on apply, and then click on done at the bottom right corner. That should then be able to give me the list of students within that. If I have got a particular class as well within that year that I want to set up this test for, I can click on that refine search button again, click on the group, type the first number or the first letter, and if it's giving me a few suggestions here, just select on that particular option and click on done, and that should filter those particular students for me. Click on your select box, or at the same time you can just select them individually. Click on add and click next. There are two options that now do come up within the test start mode. You've got the manual test and the automatic test. We do suggest that you leave it as automatic test, because then when the test is due at the time or the date and time that you set it for, it will be live for the students to automatically be able to have access to it once they've entered their access code, which we shall come to. If you were to choose the manual test option, you've got to physically go into that particular test to make this live. So I shall show you the two options at the end of it so that you can be able to see this. So leave it as automatic test start, click on next, and at the end that is the summary button, which will show you that's the setup that you've done. If you're happy with it, you can click on save setting. If you think you've done an error somewhere, just click on the back button and you can be able to go back to it. But if everything is okay, just click on the save setting, and you should now see that's the setup which I've just done here, which you would see the description, the type of test, and 2 students being made available in that test. Now, as I said, if I wanted to change this, you would also see that it's live. But if I didn't want the test being for today, I can be able to click on the actions button, click on the edit button, which should then bring me back to the sit-in. Just keep clicking on next, and you can come to the date, click on the calendar, and then choose that to the dates that you want to change it to. Any changes that you make, you should have to click on the next button till you've got to the summary and click on save sit-in, and then that should save. And you would also notice that it's now changed from pending now to, sorry, from live now to pending. I'll just go back into the sit-in. Just change the date back to today's date, and then go to the test mode. As I said, I'll now make this as a manual test. Click on next, and then click on the save sit-in. So although it says live, you've got to end up making this test available to now the students. So you would have to click on this button at the right hand side, which is the progress button. This shows you a live feed as to your students, whether to let you know if they've logged in or not into a test, and if they've started or completed whatever part of the test. You'll also see their access code, which is a mixture of letters and numbers. Now, you would have to click on this start test button in order for them to be able to have access to it. If you don't, they would not be able to start or do their test. So that's the difference between the automatic and the manual, which in terms of the manual gives a bit of work. So my suggestion is to leave it as automatic test. So just going back into the setting to make the changes. Okay, so that is done. Once you've created the sit-in, you would have to give the student their access code. You would have to, in order for them to have access to the test, just click on the actions button. You've got two options here. You can download the access code as a PDF, which you'll see in a bit, which is more or less in little tickets. And then there's the other option where you can also download it as an access code or a spreadsheet if you've got a whole list of students where you've got to separate them by class. This is the easiest option because you can be able to manipulate the data and email that to the respective I'll say class teachers for them to distribute it amongst their students. And you will notice that the access code is at the right hand side, and it's also got the detail of the particular class, which you can be able to just either copy and paste or cut and paste and then email that to their teachers. As I said, the other option was to click on this button here, which is the PDF option. I'll just wait for that to open, and then you can be able to see that option, which it shows you the access code, which is a mixture of letters and numbers. You've got the child's name, the description of the test, I would say date and time, as you can see. Now you've got the website address where each child is going to just click on this link. As you can see, it's just the same link for all the students. So you can either have this website link prepped, either saved onto your either a particular part of your school's website, or if there's a particular screen, if you have to prep your computers, just do so. And all you just have to do is to click on the link. It says at the end of it, it says code, CODE, and that's for all pupils. Whereas with the school or the trust, as I mentioned earlier, you would either find your customer ID at the end part here, or your I'll say yes, the customer ID for the trust or the school, in order for you to access your platform. Okay, I shall quickly just show you how the student that logs in. It may log me out, and if it does, I'll just log back in so that we can just continue the session. So you would have your pupil who they will just click on this link, and this is the screen that the pupil will be able to see. They will then type in their access code without typing in the dash, and then once that's entered, They will just click on login, and the first part of the test will be presented to them for them to start test. Once a test has started, fortunately, you can't make any changes to that setting. So if you have made any errors whilst one particular child has logged in to start a test, you would have to create a new setting that's for the rest or for whichever people that needs to be corrected. So kindly make the necessary changes before you provide the access codes to your pupils to start the test. Okay, so you can log out at the top right corner as you can see me do. And then, as I said, it may log me out, so I shall just go ahead and log in out and then just log back in.
Pupil numbers, school receipt.
Okay, so once that's done, we'll just go back to the settings. You can do the same thing. As I said, if you wanted to end up archiving a particular test, you can do so. Anything that is expired or not, you can be able to remove that and archive the test. There is a section here where you can also generate a report, but that report is just to let you know the number of students that have taken the test. So there is a button specifically to go to when generating your reports. So that is what I would advise. But as I said, you can be able to archive your reports to keep this area tidy. If you've done that incorrectly, you can click on the show archive settings only button at the left hand side, select a test, and then be able to restore that setting back to where it's supposed to be as well. That is if it's not expired and you archived it incorrectly. So I'll click on the menu button and then go onto the report section. So once the test or once a student has completed a test, you can be able to generate a report. You don't have to wait for the entire class to finish or all pupils to do so. You can just straight away generate your report. So I shall click on, you see on the left hand side actually the academic year when the test has been completed. If you've done test of previous years, just click on the that's the sorry the menu section on the left side, and then you can be able to just click onto the corresponding academic year so that you can be able to generate your report. Click on the create report button. Change the academic year if you need to generate anything from the previous year. If not, just leave it within that particular year. It would list that's the various tests that have been completed, and if there's anything more, there you would have a show more button. Just click on that and you can then find the particular test that you need to be generating. So in this example here, I should just click on the NGRT just to see if there's any tests that have been completed. Click on apply. It would give me a few reports, type of reports that I can be able to generate. On the right hand side, there's a question mark button here, which will give you the description of each report. So if you click onto it, it will tell you what type of report it is. You can be able to also click on the sample button, and that should also let you see what type of reports that you will be actually be looking at as well. So click on create report. And if there's any student that has actually completed it, I can be able to just click on that particular student or all students. At the same time, you can filter the students on the left hand side if you know the particular class that you are after. Just put in, as I said, the first letter of that particular class, and whatever the options that fall that are presented to you or the predictive answers, just select that and you can be able to filter your students by that particular class or by that particular year by just typing in the year information as well and click on apply. Once that's done, just click on the top right corner which says define report settings, give the description. If you wanted to also generate an individual report, you can take on that option if you've got multiples. But as this is an individual report, I don't need to be taking that again. But whichever one that you prefer. prefer, you can be able to do so. If you also needed to pick up any indicators, you've got the various options there. But in this example, I'm just leaving it as none. Just click on generate report. And then you'll see at the top right as in it processing. Give you a few minutes, and once that's completed, it will say completed with the actions button presenting itself to allow me to be able to download the particular report. So as you can see here, that has also come up. Just click on actions. You can either preview it or download it. So I shall just preview that.
Days ago. Do you remember Edwardsville Primary? Well,
And you can then see the report in the PDF
we have a meeting.
example here.
There's a man who
Okay, so once that's done, that is it. If you needed to, once again, archive any reports, if you don't require them, you can be able to do that by selecting and then just clicking at the top right corner as well. I'll just click on the GL assessment icon. That should bring me back to the home page, and that completes our session. Hopefully, if you do have any questions, kindly do ask, and I should be able to answer that for you. And if not, as I said, you will be having a recording of this session to be able to listen to again. And if you do have any queries, please just contact your account manager, and they will be able to address any queries for you. I shall give you maybe about a few 5 minutes just to see if there's any questions that you do have. And if not, I shall end this session. Thank you very much.
I've got his email. Yeah, it's in the system. I'll get it out there. No worries. Okay, bye. Bye. Bye.
Well, thank you for your patience. I believe it was there's only a few people that managed to obviously make it to the session. Others either could not hear me. So as I said, this session is being recorded, so I shall definitely organize this to be that's the shared link to be emailed to you, and then you should be able to listen to the session again. So I'll stop sharing my screen and then end the session. Thank you very much for attending. Bye bye.